So the first thing we're making are these salted caramel cups. I'm starting off by making our own homemade caramel, which is great because there's no weird things in it. We just need some maple syrup, some coconut oil, and some coconut cream. Now I promise that this caramel does not taste like a coconut. So if you're not a coconut fan, don't worry, it doesn't actually taste like coconut. So you're just gonna whisk that together over a high heat until you bring it to a boil. And then once it's boiling for 5 minutes, you just take it off the heat. And we're gonna be adding in some vanilla, which is gonna add a little bit of flavor, as well as a pinch of sea salt to make it salted caramel. If you don't like salted caramel, you can leave the salt out, and then you just whisk that together. You're gonna leave that to cool, and you're gonna make some paleo chocolate, which I'm gonna leave the recipe for down below because we do use it later in the video. And I'm taking just a teaspoon, which is like a small spoon in your drawer, and putting that into a silicone mold. I love these silicone molds. I get them at IKEA and they're so versatile. You can also get them on Amazon too, so I would look there. You should put a spoonful into the bottom of each of the cups. And then we're going to be adding in our caramel once it has cooled. So you definitely want to allow it to cool because then it gets nice and thick, as you can see, and that way it's going to stay in the center of our cup. To speed it up, you can cool it in the fridge. I put mine in the fridge to chill, and it took about 10-15 minutes to get nice and thick and syrupy. Plus, I had leftovers from these 8 cups too, so you can use that for a future recipe. And then I'm drizzling a little bit more of the chocolate on top just to make it a full cup and to cover up the caramel. And then you just have to set these in the freezer for about 30 minutes. And I'm finishing it off with a little bit more salt, but again, that's optional. 30 minutes in the freezer, you'll be good to go. And you have these wonderfully delicious caramel cups that were really actually quite easy to make. They're paleo, vegan, and the perfect treat. And I stored them in the freezer to make sure that they don't melt. And then up next, we are going to be making some chocolate strawberries because I feel like this is such a classic like Valentine's Day dessert, but also it's super delicious. So I'm adding some coconut oils with some raw cacao along with some vanilla. Now I love using raw cacao in recipes, especially when we're not baking, because that way all the antioxidants and all the great things about cacao are preserved. So you just stir that together. Now this is quite a more bitter side of a paleo chocolate. If you like a touch of sweetness, you can add a teaspoon of maple syrup, but because of the sweetness of the strawberries, and you know me, I'm trying not to add too much sugar, so I like to keep it just as is. But if you need a touch, go ahead and put a teaspoon of maple syrup, and then just dip your strawberry into the chocolate, and you can keep it like that, or you can add whatever kind of toppings that you like. So I'm using some hemp seeds, some goji berries. I'm leaving some of them plain. And then I also melted some coconut butter, and I'm drizzling that on the top, kind of to make like a white chocolate and kind of melts together. It was super yummy. So leave those in the fridge to set for about 15 minutes, and they're a perfect treat. You got chocolate, you got strawberry. They look like they're like complicated to make, but they're really easy. And lastly, we're making some drinking chocolate. So I'm starting off with some coconut milk from the can because this is more decadent. So you want to use that. And then I'm adding in a tablespoon of cacao along with 2 tablespoons of dairy-free and also sugar-free chocolate chips. And then I'm adding in a little bit of vanilla for flavor, and we're gonna whisk that together. Now this is after the famous Angelina's drinking chocolate from Paris because it's so rich and decadent. And guys, this tastes so good, and it's super quick to make. You just whisk it until everything melts, and it will be good to go. But this is like the perfect, like super decadent hot chocolate. That's why it's called drinking chocolate, because typically it's served in a smaller mug. This mug is about 2 to 3 ounces. So as you can see, it is more decadent. It's rich. It's basically supposed to be liquid chocolate, and it tastes just like the Angelina one.